All right, I am
We're
recording.
recording? Okay.
Welcome,
Now,
everybody.
welcome. Are we doing a
Okay.
welcome?
Yeah, it's always good to say welcome. I
Okay. Welcome in
welcome.
that case.
I came up with a tagline for this show.
Oh,
It's called the show of incoherent rambling that eventually has a point.
does it eventually have a point? I don't.
We're hopeful. Maybe at
If episode 0 was any indication, I think we've planned a little bit ahead this time, but yeah, for the most part, we do not do much planning for this show. So what you see is pretty much off the cuff. We are punting. Uh, so yeah, let's we can. You want to get right to it?
let's let's get right to it.
So
What have you been up
I guess
to
let's
in
see.
this busy time of global engagement?
I went through my last pack of cigarettes, right? Um, which means I've finally quit smoking. Probably this time for longer than any other time I've tried to quit smoking.
Mm.
But it's definitely something I've definitely not tried to make up for it with alternative substances. Um, and even if I had, those alternative substances have themselves now run dry. So I mean,
That
I am in
is
it right now. You
that's a
know,
bummer.
yeah. So here we are. It's only week what 2, 3 quarantine,
This is
and
yeah. I mean, I
excuse me,
this is rolling into week 4
week
of
4. So this is
being out
almost
of school.
a month of no school, no work. Uh,
Yeah,
I know you were still living at home. I was in Savannah. I was torn away from the life I had built myself, and now I am in my parents' house,
that's
24 hours a day,
that's a great one.
7 days a week. So yeah, I love my family, but I'm about to kill every last motherfucker in this building, if you know what I mean. Not in a literal way, to any of our worried viewers.
Yeah, of course. No, no,
Of
no.
course,
Murder
no.
is bad, and
Murder is bad. That is a non-controversial topic.
that is that is a definite that we can all agree on. And
Yep.
yeah,
So what about you, Dan? What have you been up to?
well, a little bit of nothing
Excuse me.
really. I've been watching a ton of uh, the show Boardwalk Empire.
I've heard good things about this
It
show.
is it is very stimulating. Um,
Titillating, if you will.
yes, it makes me titillate quite a bit.
All
um,
right.
yes, and so the plot is 1920s in Atlantic City,
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey, right at the beginning of Prohibition. And if you know anything about Atlantic City, it is sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and the temperance movement was having a field day. So it is one lonely bootlegger's story,
Interesting.
and
Who stars in that show?
I couldn't tell you.
Well,
They're
I
HBO, so they're A list, but they're like maybe A point B list.
so you got titties, but you don't have the production quality of something like Game of Thrones, pretty much.
Right. Well, I mean, it is HBO, so it's very high production quality. Executive producer is Martin Scorsese, so it's
Oh, God,
yeah,
yeah.
it
I mean,
is
anything
it
he's
is
doing is great.
it is very premium. But I don't know many of those actors. There's some people that I've seen. I just don't recognize their names.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, I, on the other hand, have been watching, along with every other person in quarantine right now, pretty much. Uh, I've been watching Tiger King. I finished it a couple days ago,
Okay.
and
Actually,
if you have not seen the show, it is fucking batshit. I mean, the the crux of the show follows mainly two uh mainly two, and then there are like 3 or 4 on the periphery. These tiger enthusiasts. One is Joe Exotic, who, if you've ever watched Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, made a very famous appearance as a third-party candidate during 2016 election. His video went viral after that, which I think started the fascination with Joe Exotic. Even though the documentarians who made the show have been following him since fucking 2014, I think.
That's impressive.
So it's interesting to see. But it follows Joe Exotic, and the other sort of antithesis of Joe Exotic is an animal rights activist who owns a big cat sanctuary in Tampa named Carol Baskin. So, but the coolest part about it is it's like a fucking mafia. It is an interconnected web of people across America who have just poured their lives into big cats, whether that is protection or sale. The Joe Exotic claimed to have the largest big cat sanctuary. Not a sanctuary, it was a zoo in the U.S. It was in the middle of Oklahoma or something.
Ooh.
But the thing that turns the show on its head is, I don't want to ruin too much, but this is in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler. He hires somebody to kill Carol Baskin.
What the hell?
And through all of this, they go through these legal battles, and ultimately it ends up in him trying to pay someone off to assassinate her.
Jesus.
And so you're constantly getting flash forwards to phone calls with Joe Exotic as he's sitting in prison for this conspiracy to murder or something.
That's
However,
exciting. Wow.
Legally. But it is an amazing show. I mean, it's some of the batshit craziest stuff. Stranger than fiction, really.
Yeah, I got a chance to leave the house today. I went to Publix.
I haven't got a chance to leave the house today.
And I saw some people I knew, and every person that I saw was talking about Tiger King, and it was a relief to talk about something other than the impending doom of this shitstorm. But
yes,
I'm like,
yeah,
wow,
I'm telling you, you got to
it's a
get on
big
that
deal.
train. You got to get on the train. It's definitely worth a watch, and it's only like 7 episodes, so you can knock it out in a night. But I guess that sort of gets us to our first topic. What do we have written down? Because we actually prepared this time. It was about 5 minutes before we started recording, but we did prepare.
There was a discussion about what to say, and I wrote down a couple of interesting things here. We got some anecdote out of the way, and I also wrote down Tiger King. I don't think there's much more to say about it other than...
No, I think anything else would just be spoiling the fun.
It would be. Also, Netflix is not paying us, so that's all you get.
Yeah.
Then we've got the Queen addresses the English Commonwealth on
yes.
COVID-19. This is something that you found on the Wire,
yes.
I believe, and
it was not the Wire. It was definitely not the Daily Wire.
No, the Wire in the
as in just the internet.
Oh, well, back in the day when they had teletype machines, and whenever a proper piece of news came out, it would come over the Wire, which was...
I'm familiar with the Wire.
Oh, I'm helping the listeners.
Are you assuming that our listeners are anything but a bunch of old people? Our two listeners who are probably
under the age of 72.
Probably, I guess.
I mean, what else do you do once you turn 73? You just listen to...
You listen to podcasts and hope for death.
Yeah.
I never want to get old.
I'm not going to.
But here was the story. The Queen of England did a public to the Britons. It was either this morning or last night. And this is important because this is only the fourth time that she has ever done this since she's been. Hold on. Since she's been in power. Sorry, my computer started blaring this ad at me, and I did not like it.
Yeah, we don't like that.
Do not at all.
Nope.
But it was a very powerful speech. Former White House chief Walter Schaub, I don't know how to say his name, but he seemed very moved by it. That was this. I'm just reading the headlines here. But she spent quite a bit of time talking about how well the national healthcare. It's not perfect by any means, but I think we've come to a time when people are looking at the American healthcare system more than ever and seeing the cracks in it. And honestly, though I'm by no means a socialist by any stretch of the imagination, I've very much gotten on board with the idea of a national healthcare system. Honestly, in somewhere that is as developed as America, there is no reason that we should be responding this way. Some of that is the healthcare system. Some of that is also the president and his the way he and his cabinet have handled it. Because God knows that we saw the writing on the wall. I at least, maybe I'm just paranoid, but I saw the writing on the wall as soon as it left China. But
right,
there seems to be this attitude in the higher ups that this was just going to go away if they ignored it, and I think we've come to a place where we can't ignore it anymore, and that's probably why the Queen gave the speech in the first place, because this is a time when it has to be talked about. There has to be action taken, and I don't necessarily think our pay to win healthcare system is our healthcare business model, as it were, is set up to where we can actually have this sort of thing handled. But I know you differ, so I'll let you say your piece.
So my piece is look at Italy. Look at Italy. Italy has I don't know the extent of it, but it is a single-payer healthcare system. And what happened there? Well,
sure, in that collapse, but that's also on the lower end of developed countries in the world. It's also on the compared to Britain, France, Canada, Australia, I believe, we have. I think the new numbers equal out to about 0.1% of the U.S. population is infected with coronavirus today, and those were the numbers for today. And something like 0.03-ish% of Canada's population has it. I mean, mostly that could also be attributed to the population spread,
right.
But England has, and Britain as a whole, because it's not just England. If we have any British listeners, I'm sorry, but your amalgam of a country really just amounts to England and its bitches.
Yes. Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland are.
Come on, you're
I applaud your effort
yourself.
at being sovereign, but.
But you have shown more than once that you do not actually want to be sovereign. You'd like the financial stability of England too much to stop being its bitch.
So the UK persists.
The UK, they do. They have really stepped it up. And this is a time when every other major developed country in the world has looked at us and really seen how impotent the response has been. Even though we have people like Fauci, who I have a lot of respect for, who are really have always since the beginning tried to steer the conversation back to what we can do, because he, more than anybody else in that room, knows that the healthcare system is too fucked up to really take care of this by itself. The thing is, there is first of all, with socialized medicine, it's something that if you ask anybody in Canada, if you ask anybody in Australia, how do they feel about their healthcare system? You're going to get it. That is the opposite of what they say. Canada voted for. There was a thing I saw, and it was. I'm gonna full disclosure. It was John Oliver, and that is a left-leaning show, and I acknowledge that. But what can't be made up is the fact that Canada had a vote for I think it was either a new holiday or like a greatest Canadian of all time, and they voted for en masse voted for the person who implemented the national healthcare system because they love it so much.
So here's my thing. When you want something done, it's going to cost you more here. But the people that come to America for treatment, why do so many people come to America for treatment?
Why do so many rich people come to America for treatment?
Well, why do so many people come to America in the first place?
Because it's a place where the taxes are lower, so they can, I'm not arguing American liberties here. What I'm arguing is healthcare as a human right.
Sure. But then you have to define the difference between a positive and a negative right, and is healthcare
it is a positive right.
A positive or a negative right?
It is a positive right.
It is something that must be given to you.
Yes.
See, absolutely. That's where the conversation splits, because a lot of people that are opposed to a single-payer healthcare system are people such as myself that believe that healthcare is a negative right. You are not allowed to deprive somebody of their access to healthcare. That does not mean that you are required to pay for it. However,
sure,
if you
but if you argue that it is an inalienable right, even though it is a negative right, saying that you can't deprive somebody of healthcare, then you create this mafia of debt collectors from hospitals and stuff who track down people who couldn't pay for their bill. Even as an indigent person coming into a hospital, they know that doctors can't refuse to treat them. They're just going to end up racking up debt, and that's what's bleeding the Medicare system dry, is the fact that or the healthcare system at large dry, is the fact that you have people who are eligible for Medicare or Medicaid who then come into emergency rooms at 2 a.m. I mean, I've seen it when I had to take my dad to the emergency room for his blood clots. On a Friday night at 2 a.m., it is 90% homeless people in Atlanta who are sitting in those rooms because, well, A, it's a warm place to be in a December night, but also because they know that's the only place where they will not be refused healthcare, even though they're going to rack up the debt. But that debt's just going to keep, they're going to keep tearing up the bills. Right. So,
no, but here's the thing: a lot of them are not incurring debt. A lot of indigent people go under false names, and you are not required to present your social security number or any truly identifying factor when you go to the hospital. But
you are required to give a sort of contact information, a sort of identification. And what happens is these people who do give their phone numbers end up getting calls from debt collectors from hospitals saying, you have however $15,000 because we gave you, XYZ treatment, and you have to pay it back now.
But here's the thing. You said it right there. We gave you XYZ treatment. What was that treatment? It was a tetanus shot. I can get a tetanus shot for $70 at the CVS. Why does it cost me $15,000? Oh, well, we this, that, and the other. The problem is, and it's the same thing that comes up in socialized education or secondary or post-secondary. It's not that I don't believe that. Rather, let me rephrase that. I don't think it is the. I don't think that people can't afford it. I think that it's the colleges are price gouging. Obviously, there's nothing that you can argue against that. They are a for-profit industry. Everything about education is for-profit. Everything about healthcare is for-profit. And
so isn't that kind of fucked up?
It is fucked up. But footing the bill, having the government foot the bill for that, having everyone split the payment evenly, doesn't make the cost go down. It makes it just incentivizes.
Well, so here, I'll ask you this. Never mind. Go ahead and finish.
It incentivizes the healthcare industry to continue doing what they're doing because they know for a fact there will be a check at the end of the day because it's coming from the Treasury.
And so, but I would ask you this. Do we expect for private companies to pave the roads that we drive on? Do we expect private companies to, for profit, manage public parks or anything else that the government provides as a government service because they think they're going to get a paycheck out of it? No, it's because that's what the taxpayers have given them tax dollars to do. That is their job. That is a doctor working under a national healthcare service would be wouldn't take away from the call of their job. It wouldn't take away from the fact that they want to be a doctor. What it would take away from are the people who become a doctor just so they can make money. It would take away the people who are in the profession of medicine for profit because it is a for-profit system.
Where would they go?
Where would who go?
The people that are there for a for-profit thing, what are they going to do? They're medical professionals. And what happens
if they're medical professionals, they're going to stick into the medical profession if they have a respect for the profession itself. If they're not, they were shitty doctors in the first place, and we're better for getting rid of them.
We are better for getting rid of them. Exactly. But
but here's the thing. I had a very first-hand experience with this when my brother, who father of two, he's lower middle class, probably 9-to-5 job, went in to the hospital, and albeit this is during a national crisis, went into the ER because he was running 104-degree fever. It went down pretty fast, but he was, of course, freaked out. They did a flu test, they did a strep test, told him, both came back negative. They told him to pretty much act as though he has coronavirus, right?
Right.
The thing is, he still gets tested, even though for him not to go in would be more of a danger to his family, his children, the roommate that's living with them right now, his wife, than it would for him to. And now he's having to pay the bill for it. So for him to not know, and that's what happens a lot of times, is when people decide to forego healthcare because they can't pay for it, because they are worried that it's going to lead to a shit ton of debt that they can't pay back. Because you have a shit ton of people in America who are middle class, just lower middle class, middle class, however you want to split up the whatever, who have put off healthcare, very vital healthcare, because they can't afford it. And it ends up killing them and those around them. Another example is my grandmother. She has been I think it was last year or 2 years ago. I want to say it was 2018, November 2018. She got a shot of cortisone in her knee because she kept putting off her knee surgery. The shot of cortisone was the needle was dirty. Something she got sepsis, and now she is pretty much a shell of her former self and has been bedridden since November 2018. And the thing is, the doctors that gave that to her still charged her for the shot that gave her MRSA, and because the price for a knee surgery was so high, she decided to keep putting that off and keep going to these small clinics where they just give her a shot of cortisone and she keep going about her day with her cane. And now she has experienced a fate in which my opinion is worse than death.
Right. That's awful. That sucks.
And so I'm not saying that a magical waving wand of Bernie Sanders' bona fide healthcare system is going to fix all the problems in healthcare. When you have something that is that large taking care of that many people, especially in the US, when there are 300 million people in 50 states to manage federally, there are going to be fuck ups. But I believe it is worth the risk, because economics be damned if people can't survive, if people can't pursue life, liberty, and happiness.
Okay, so that's what the question that always comes to my mind is, well, why is it so expensive? And that's what I was trying to get at earlier. Why is it so expensive? Why is it
Okay.
And I guess the easy answer is to say, well, it's broken. Okay, so we need to fix it. Well, what's broken about it? And this is what I have discovered, and I see that the issue that causes hospitals in particular to have to charge such high costs is not greedy capitalists. It's government loopholes that they have to fill in. Okay, you need an MRI? Well, we got to get the MRI tech in here, and we have to pay our this, that, and the other. And there is we're not allowed to actually tell you how much it costs, but we will then send the bill to a company, because a bill collecting company, because we're not allowed to collect the bill, and we will not give them the actual cost of the product. We will sell the debt to them, and they will collect the bill from you under our pretense. Sure. And that is how the federal government requires debt collection for medical bills to be done. So in the end,
sure, that's a huge factor. But when you see that the public hospitals, for quote unquote public hospitals or state hospitals, are underfunded, and the private hospitals, which are usually the only specialized ones, are not in network, quote unquote, for people who have it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because the private hospitals gouge you more because they're private and they can do that, and the public hospitals, the bill will be a slightly lower, but they're still underfunded and have to make up for that somehow. So the hospitals themselves, I imagine, do take some administrative executive privilege in raising those prices.
Mm-hmm.
Another huge thing is drug cost. Big pharma is something I think we can both agree on is absolutely an abhorrent beast that is lying in the underbelly of America. But you can't fight big pharma when you have for-profit hospitals who are willing to deal with big pharma.
But why would we get rid of big pharma? See, Big Pharma is who's developing your COVID-19 cure. Big Pharma is who is.
No, it's not. It's the fucking CDC. Big Pharma are the people who don't create the drugs, but decide to mass manufacture the drugs, get a new take on the drugs every 5-10 years to make sure it's fresh and marketable, and then pump them out to doctors through incredibly sleazy marketing schemes. It's I mean, if you've never really looked into it, it's the way they market to doctors
No, I
is
got you. I
almost
got you. I know how
sure.
that works. That's awful. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the R&D that happens does not happen at the CDC. The
The
bottom
R&D
line.
for COVID-19 is, but
Okay,
yes,
right. So, and that was a bad example on my part. But writ
sure,
large, if you need a drug, it came from a private company that is developing it to make a profit. The CDC is not there to cure your skin tags, and that is, a large majority of the medical community, a large majority of the medical industry in this world is things that don't need to be treated.
sure. And innovation and making sure that you do have the luxury of getting a skin tag removed in this country is something that we expect as Americans. But
But
when you, but when they're you know when you have a business whose innovation is completely based off of the profit rather than the intrinsic value of the field itself, I have a hard time getting behind that, because innovation is going to happen from people who are passionate about the craft, no matter where they. Money is an incentive for people who might not have done it in the first place, but decided to do so because of the money. But people who are who are passionate and really want to make a difference, who are the people, by the way, that I would want to have developing my drugs because they actually give a shit, are the people uh, who are going to make these drugs no matter how much they're paid, no matter if that's with a government agency, like if you had a department of, I mean, and we kind of do. We have the FDA, and that the only
and the
step that's missing.
FDA is, look,
It's
the red
but
tape. See, the red tape, and that's what people keep, the red tape, and the Trump administration has done a good job at removing a lot of Bush and
that red.
Obama administration red tape that was put on private drug companies from developing things that they can go to early testing. One of Trump's, I think, one of the biggest achievements in my eyes is right to try, and he got right to try passed, and that's a huge deal. That means that there's an experimental drug out there. Well, I want to try it. Oh, you can't do that. No. It hasn't been tested by the FDA. Well, what are the side effects? Well, according to this 100 person thing, this is a possible side effect. Okay, I still want it.
Well,
No.
let me ask you this.
It hasn't been approved by the government. That's fucked up.
Let me ask you this: the red tape that keeps you from trying this drug could be the thing that keeps you from dying from it.
Here's
The
in
in
right to try
mass
is
in mass, people don't know what is in their drug.
right, and that's
If you had a pharmacist come up to you and say, "Here's an experimental treatment. It contains explataflatidin and microcystaphyllus. Do you want to try it? It could possibly cure you." If I didn't know what those things are, then I shouldn't be able to consent to that. If I have no clue what I'm getting myself into, that is not a sort of informed consent that is sustainable, that is going to be able to create a production model that is sustainable. If you just completely, and this is why I also get pissed off at the animal rights people. If you just say, all right, we're not going to do any sort of animal trials or anything, we're not going to test this on any lab rats, we're just going to go straight, funnel it down Joe, whatever his name is, mouth, and say, all right, let's see if this either gives you cancer or cures it.
But here's the thing: right to try is a legislation that allows you to, if you have a terminal illness, so you're going to die anyway. But this is a new drug. We don't know what it'll do. Do you want to see what happens? Yes? Okay, here you go. That's what right to try is. And it's that it is the inability to, one, share what is in the drug because of government mandates that I have to look this up. What's the
well, could I
piece of legislation that prevents you from sharing R&D stuff because
I don't know.
Because NATO, essentially, it's a national security issue if you publish what's in this drug and how you made it. Okay, well,
that's part of
what's in this. Well, you don't.
That's part of but that's part of the broken for-profit system. Is that the reason that is in place is so people can't steal your patent, so to speak. But I'm going, sort of connecting the issue of the right to try thing. Would you hand a loaded gun to a toddler if they had no idea what it was going to do? Would you hand a loaded gun to a liberal if you knew they had no idea what it was going to do?
Well,
if they had no idea how to function the safety, if they had no idea how to safely load it, point it away from themselves, whatever. Or for that matter, would you give anybody anything that they didn't know what it was going to do to them?
But
there's a reason there is a law against
this could kill you.
Sure, and there's a reason there's an FDA. Right. So big companies can't pack sawdust in their fucking meat. Essentially, it's the same principle. Are we going to say, well, this does have an additive in it. It might be sawdust, but it also might make you live forever. Do you take the chance on the people that are going to die from that, or do you take the chance on the people that are going to seek alternative, or are going to seek the tried and true treatment that's, maybe a little bit behind the experimental one?
Okay.
Are you going to treat a wound with alcohol or some fucking weird sap that you found outside?
Right. Okay.
On the off chance that it's gonna, cure them.
But since you went there,
it's okay to agree with me, Dan. Come to the dark side. It's nice.
Here's the thing. Since you brought it up, if you were to equate the right to try to handing a loaded gun to someone that doesn't know how to operate it, it would be someone at the end of a noose.
I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Here's a gun. You can flail around with it, but the trapdoor's going to drop.
I don't think I'm catching your metaphor.
Or it would be a loaded gun with a bayonet. You can cut yourself free. You have to figure out how to do it. We don't really know what's going to happen. But
if it's a knife, you can cut the noose. I mean, that's a thing. That's
right.
Physics.
There you go. Let's drop the gun. We're just the knife now.
Just playing with a knife now. Okay. But thing is,
he could stab himself and he could die from it. But he's going to die anyway.
But the thing is, the knife is also proven to cut the rope.
Well,
the knife can cut the rope. You don't have to get an expert in knives to tell you that it can cut a rope.
Shit.
You have to get you have to get an expert in chemistry and
these the
biology.
people that develop these drugs. The mindset is that the people that are developing drugs are idiots in their garage. These drug companies are massive companies where grad students dream of working because it's, one, where the money is, and two, it's where they will have the opportunity to have a shot at curing cancer. And that happens in America.
In America, but I'm arguing, and that's the core of my argument. That shouldn't be where they go. They should, if I wanted to, be a conservationist, I wouldn't go and try and be the CEO of SeaWorld. I wouldn't try and go to be, the an employee at some fish factory.
I don't understand your analogy.
I'm saying if it shouldn't be the case that when these doctors try and want their shot at trying to cure cancer, as you said, it shouldn't be that they go to a place where the incentive for them curing cancer, can that be a happy byproduct of it? Sure. If you want to pursue money in your life, I think that's a shallow goal, but I can't say that it's an invalid goal and that nobody should ever pursue money ever, because it's a perfectly valid aspiration. But the core of the issue here is, are we going to let our healthcare system be humanitarian, or are we going to let our healthcare system be another big company like Disney or McDonald's? So, and feel free to have one more come back at me, because then I think we need to move on to our next topic. We've been on this for how long?
We are at 42 minutes rolling, so probably
wow.
probably 30 of those have been about this. No, okay. So,
well, I think we actually found a topic that we have discussed during a show, which is rare.
And this is not necessarily incoherent rambling. There are some points
being
made.
Right. We have actually. This is growth. You are witnessing growth.
Look at both of us are learning from one another. People that disagree on a topic peacefully discussing it, albeit through microphones and headphones. It's still good. Okay. So the thing is, I don't believe that socializing our healthcare system will solve the problem. It is the same thing. Why?
Is your mic cutting in and out?
No, my brain is.
Oh.
Look at other things that are socialized. You look at something and you go, God, that private industry is whack. Let's take control of that, and we'll be good. Well, anything. Look at give me an industry.
One that is currently quasi-socialized, or one that's...
what's a socialized industry?
Education, for the most part.
Education is a social... Well, education's always been a public
I mean, not for all time, but certainly it has...
But it has
but
always
there
been...
again, at a certain time in American history, it would have been completely outlandish to assume that everybody had the right...
goes to school. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, that was a matter of station. And then there's this enlightenment that occurs that, to really, truly realize Franklin's dream, you have to educate everybody. You can't...
To realize the dream of any intelligent person ever.
Right.
Of any person who...
But right, when he stuck
values wisdom and education.
That bit about states having the right to educate their children into the Constitution, that is a really, that's him going, okay, well, how do we invest?
So is that a positive right or a negative right?
I believe that education is a negative right. I think that
So
everything except life, liberty, and happiness are negative rights.
I would
If it
argue that education falls under liberty. I believe you have to be cognizant of your surroundings, and you have to be cognizant of your rights, really, in order to practice them.
in order to be free. Right.
Freedom is only as good as the application of freedom.
Right. But then, what is education? How do you be educated on your rights? Well, do you have to go to school to do that? I don't think so. And I think that especially now, we're seeing that the institutions that we have built to educate our little children are not.
Don't say it like that, please.
Are not necessary in the current form that we're using schools to be. You don't need a big top-heavy education system to teach people how to read and write. And then you and I both had a very different experience than the majority of high schoolers and the majority of public schooled children in America, I would argue, because we were in AP
better
classes.
Or worse? Better. Oh, okay.
We were in
well, but there you go. The AP class was a government program to pretty much. Well, I mean, if you want a crash course on the history of College Board and the AP system, it's actually incredibly interesting because it was all part of trying to weed out all of the, or trying to single out all of the highly intelligent kids in order to have a better chance at finding
a way to
researchers and scientists.
Yeah,
or,
to beat the Ruskies.
To beat the communists. Yes.
Right.
So.
And it was working over there, and so we adopted the system here.
And so there you go.
But I mean, that is the College Board is a private organization.
Now it is. It
is now.
It did not start as, but yes.
But the College Board, as it exists now, is a private organization, and I would argue that the College Board has always been a ripoff. At its conception, it was a good idea. But now I think that unless you know... I don't regret taking AP classes because I really enjoyed them.
I much preferred my AP classes over the idea of dual enrolling even.
Right.
Because
so if I could guarantee my credit, dual enrolling, if you want to do what AP classes are billed as, if you're unfamiliar with the American education system.
It's the difference between giving you the skills to pass your tests and giving you the knowledge to pursue something in college. If you want to just pass college, if you want to just give yourself a crash course for college, go with dual enrollment. But if you are actually passionate about learning, I think the AP system is a great way.
Right. If you want to know things, that's what AP classes are. And the bars to enter
because my
AP
God,
classes,
I got to college, and good Lord Almighty, if I had not taken those AP classes,
yes, shout out to our lit lang teachers for real.
Shout out to Miss Canarella on jaw.
All right.
Well, Chronic too, but I'm still team Holcomb, so I can't really give a huge shout out to
Holcarella.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mr. Holcomb, if you are watching this, please know we love you.
We do. We want you to bless us with your head, please. That's filthy. All right. So, right. I think that there are a couple places where you can look at socializing and go, that probably worked. But like you said it right there, the heavy government influence. Well, ask any teacher. Go to any, if you're listening, people there out in the wild. Go to any professional educator that you know and ask them about federal policies that they have to meet and how ridiculous they are. How absurd it is that you have to do all of these evaluations. You got to do your TEKS and you got to do your FAPS and you got to do.
Oh, absolutely, and bureaucracy is.
And that's what happens. That's what happens.
Sure.
When you socialize anything,
bureaucratization is definitely a risk.
That was a good job. Good job with that.
Thanks. It's a $5 word.
At least. So.
Yes, I'll definitely give you that. It's a huge risk.
The bureaucracy is, I would argue, the fourth branch of government, as I've heard said before. It is huge, and it is a way to regulate things that ought not to be regulated for a profit. It is a for-profit business, and that is not. Bureaucracy is how government makes money.
Yeah.
And I don't think the government is there to do things that are not profitable. That's what I believe in the economic realm. The government's role is to pursue the things that are not profitable.
Your mic's cutting in and out.
In the economic world, I believe the government's role is to pursue things that are not profitable.
Sure.
I think that when the government starts doing things to make money, like issuing a rain collection tax, that's pretty whack. Why are you doing that?
Well,
oh, it's public rain. No, it's not. It fell on my property. Well, it came out of a public lake.
I've not heard of the rain collection task. That actually sounds good.
Right, and there are many things like that. You get a huge lawsuit because you dumped water out of a tire in your backyard, and you say, "What's this?" Well, the EPA is suing you because you destroyed a mosquito habitat. What?
Huh. 4 states have specific restrictions against collecting rainwater: Arizona, Colorado, Oklahoma, and Utah. That's weird.
And those are deserts. If it rains, you should be able to collect the freaking water. But no,
that's kind of funny.
You have to buy your water from us.
Oh yeah, and I mean then you get into Lorax territory.
Right.
But a big part of it is separating the aristocracy from the government, which is in America is probably never going to happen.
Anywhere, it never happens. The rich people are the ones that control the gates. And
sure.
The people that control the gates is whatever form of government you have. They hold the keys. Don't be fooled. They're in charge.
So, I appreciate, I value your position on this, and I trust that you have done your due diligence and research and whatnot. I expect you have the same respect from my point of view.
I do,
but
indeed.
I believe we have gone well over time at this point. We usually try and keep it at about an hour. What are we at right now, Dan?
We're hitting 53 minutes right now.
Oh, really?
So
wow,
this is to talk about that.
We have time to talk about one more thing.
That Easter egg that we talked about in our planning session.
Oh, what was that? Oh, yes. Okay.
Is.
So to those of you who are not aware.
Hold on, just a moment. Let me just put a little legal action on there. If you're under the age of 18, this segment is not for you, and we urge you to click off. Okay, continue.
Well, if you're over the age of 18 and you're clicking off, you could be doing it with Pornhub Premium because it is free right now. Me, like many other teenagers, do
don't sell yourself short, bud. This is
frequent some websites of ill repute.
This is bigger than teenagers.
You're right. This is a whole America thing. This is a HOLE America thing.
This is an everyone with the Y chromosome thing. This is big.
So, this is big.
Double Xers can enjoy this.
Pornhub Premium is free right now for everybody who's quarantined because, that's what heroes do. Dan here is an Xvideos guy.
I am.
And
And it's not, it's just my specific desires seem to be
I do not
fulfilled.
like the format of Xvideos.
I feel like
It's very
I feel
it's
like
very shifty.
it is. It feels like you're gonna get swindled, doesn't it?
It feels like a website from 2005.
It does, but I like that. It seems to me sometimes it's a little slow, can be a little clunky. But that's how I like it, slow and clunky.
Yeah, like I'm looking on here. There's no sort of, categories. There's no way
Um,
to like. I mean, there are,
so you have to go.
but
It's
there's no
basically
like.
it's tags. That's it.
There's no
You
like
get tags.
stream. Yeah, you get the tags, but that's it. You don't have like streamlined. Hey, I want to see who this person is. I want to see, specifically this type of thing.
But that's what I
This
kind of
this
enjoy.
channel, and yeah, there's some,
It's a little bit more of a user
the
space. It's more public, I believe. It's
the
not
mystery
so
is
heavily
certainly
curated.
the mystery is certainly there.
Right.
But
Um,
also, I'm looking here, every single one of these thumbnails, and forgive me for my stuffy nose. I'm battling allergies right now.
is that all?
Every yes, every one of these thumbnails is 90% dick in the frame.
Yeah, that's gotta go. I agree with you there.
I this is it's mostly just dick.
And you know what I say about that?
So so
We
but
all like to
then
dream.
but then you go over to
The,
Pornhub,
the
which I
glorious. What
which
happens to everybody that is getting premium right now when the world resumes?
it'll probably sort of just do an auto delete and say if you want to continue, pay this, because when you sign up for premium right now, you don't have to put in a credit card.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So here's another thing. Over on Xvideos,
hmm
all the ads are put there just like any other one of the thumbnails, right?
Yeah, but you've got to look for that little ad box in the
Sure,
corner,
sure. But
and you can
over
tell
on
them
the other
apart
website,
after a couple days.
sure,
Sorry,
but
sorry.
over on the website,
Yeah.
over on the other website, Pornhub,
hmm
they are in their own pretty big, section.
You can tell what's what. It's
You can really tell, and
it's
you
very
can,
well organized,
yep.
but
And
if I'm not mistaken, I believe Pornhub uses Google Ads.
possibly, I think it does.
I think it is a very niche, burlesque kind of Google Ads, but that's still Google knowing a little bit too much than I want them to know. And now
Well,
I know I'm completely absurd for believing that they don't already know what I
yeah,
like,
I mean,
but there
but
is
if you're
something to
just,
be said about the anonymity of 2005.
yeah, but there's
I
also
like my
something to be
privacy.
said, and that is painfully apparent. But I have pretty much given up on any sort of idea that I have any sort of privacy in this country.
Have I mentioned that I got a Google Home Mini and I'm scared to open it?
Why is there a Minecraft porn video on the front page
Of which one?
of Pornhub?
Oh, right.
It is literally like third row down.
There's
Why is it on recommended for you?
because they
I
know it's those Google ads. They
You're
know.
right. It's the Google ads. They saw me on YouTube looking up mine
Minecraft.
diamonds too many times.
Oh man,
But
Google is too powerful.
joking aside, I think we have had a productive episode, Dan.
We didn't solve any of the world's problems, but we certainly scratched the surface.
We
And
are never going to solve any of the world's problems. All we can ever hope for is to scratch the surface.
it is all about scratching the surface, which is what I'm going to go do after this. So if you've enjoyed,
Wow. Yeah, I'm telling you, sign up for the.
yeah, if you've enjoyed, first of all, if you've made it to the very end, thank you. You're a saint.
You are. You're helping us live our dream of being mediocre podcasters in a basement.
Legitimate mediocre podcasters in a basement. I'm actually on my first floor. If I jumped out of the window,
well, I'm in the basement.
I would be on the ground, flat.
So,
Anyway, as I was saying, thank you. If you have some topics you'd like us to discuss for next time, slap them down in the comment section below. Also, you should
email us.
Yes, email us.
Email us
at Patriot. Or let me make sure I'm
What
getting
is-
this right. It's Patriot
Hold on, let me check the
Hippie
podcast.
at gmail.com.
All one word at gmail.com.
No, it's not all one word at gmail.com. I don't know who has that, but that's a really good. It's
That's
Patriot
probably
Hippie
confused
Podcast.
plenty of you. All right. Well, thank you for listening.
Thank you all, and have a blessed evening.
Have a good Easter, even though the Pope canceled it.
Ah, yes. It was Palm Sunday.
Yeah, it's Palm Sunday.
An hour
I know,
ago,
but next week.
Next week.
When this comes out, when you're listening to this, it's going to be Easter in a couple days. So have a good Ash Wednesday if you're Catholic, because I think we released these on Wednesday.
That was 40 days ago. That's the beginning of the suffrage.
No, what's the Wednesday?
Right.
It's
You're
yeah,
right.
it's Ash. Yeah, I was gonna say
no Ash Wednesday.
Ash Wednesday is the beginning of Lent. I'm dumb as shit.
And then there's
have a good Maundy Thursday. Have a good
Thursday,
Good Friday.
Good Friday.
Have a
All Saints Saturday.
Yeah, have a sleepy dead Saturday, and hopefully Jesus will be back this year. I don't know if he's social distancing this time around, but if he sees his shadow, we get 4 more weeks of quarantine. So with that, I will leave this to Dan to do the outro.
All right. Have a wonderful day. If you're listening to this at night, sleep tight. Peace.
Don't sleep loose.
Oh, that's bad.
Sleeping loose is a bad idea.